went to jail because it was impossible to sit still while the obscenity of the apartheid system was being imposed on our people.
The United States is seen, quite correctly, as being the sole supporter of Israel, and that Israel would not be able to do what it is doing without American green light.
The U.S.-Israeli relationship is really unique on Capitol Hill. In my 22 years that I served there was never a moment when there was really a debate about U.S. policy in the Middle East. It was always, what does Israel want? And almost always, Congress gave them exactly what they wanted without any debate, without any amendments being considered. This type policy exists as a result of a number of factors. First of all, there is the lobby, the U.S. lobby for Israel, AIPAC, American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee. It has a multi-million-dollar budget. It has a highly professional group of people working on Capitol Hill, and they know the legislative process, they know the personalities, and therefore advance what's best for the state of Israel.
Congress seems to think that if you oppose what Israel wants, you'll be defeated in the next election.
Another factor is the fundamentalist Christian community. Fundamentalists are often represented by the televangelists that are on TV. They believe that a strong Israel is a part of God's plan. They believe that the day will come when a battle will occur in the plain of Armageddon in the Middle East. There will be the forces of truth and righteousness on one side, forces of evil on the other side. And in that struggle, the Christian forces, led by the second coming of Jesus Christ, will prevail. All of the Jews will be either destroyed or converted instantly to Christianity. It may sound to the viewer as a very far-out notion, but believe me, it is widely held and supported by millions of Americans whose doctrines really, in the ultimate, are hostile to the survival of Jews, but nevertheless, the supporters of Israel see this vast body of American people as being a great asset at this time, so they embrace them.
And Mr. Robertson, who said, I had a vision from God that we have to support Israel. And no matter what happens and what they do, this is the will of God because they're God's chosen people. A couple of weeks later, he added, and that's when this ministry started really being blessed, when we made that commitment to Israel. Not the commitment to God or Jesus Christ's teachings, but to Israel.
And we have come from all the nations of the earth to say to the people of Israel, we are your friends, we are with you, and we believe that you are called by God to possess this land.
I, as a Christian and a Christian pastor, object not in my name and not in the name of over 115 to 120 million Christians do you dare say that we support injustice and deceit. We do not.
The citizenry of this democratic society is systematically deprived of access to the real facts.
The American media play a major role in continuing U.S. support for Israel through leaving out vast swaths of information. It is the classic case of lying through omission. Major statements by American diplomats, senators, military leaders are going unreported. Sentences are being removed from news stories. Information is being manipulated.
Those are the three factors that work together on Capitol Hill and lead to such total bias, such total absence of free speech, of open debate, that is, I think, very destructive to our institutions and to our best interests in world affairs.
So Israel, for example, does not abide at all by international law. The entire occupation is illegal. It's a violation, in particular, of the Fourth Geneva Convention. By the rules of the Fort Geneva Convention, you're not allowed to build settlements, you're not allowed to build roads, you're not allowed to expropriate land, you're not allowed to deport people, you're not allowed to restrict their freedom of movement, you're not allowed to harm their economy, you're not allowed to make them unemployed and impoverished.
Everything that Israel does in the occupied territories, U.S. taxpayers are paying for. The U.S. gives the financing, it gives the military support.
Israel receives as much foreign economic assistance as all the countries combined in the world. Israel. 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 Economic assistance. Israel. The world. Israel. Economic assistance. Israel. The world. Israel. The world. Israel. The world. Israel. Economic assistance. Israel. The world. Israel. The world. Israel. The world. Israel. Economic assistance. Israel. The world. Israel. The world. Israel. Economic assistance. Israel. Economic assistance. Israel. Economic assistance. Israel. Economic assistance. Economic assistance.
In March 2003, the U.S. government approved $10 billion in aid for Israel. At the same time, it withheld a $3.5 billion grant to upgrade the training of first responders, those who would be first to respond to a terrorist attack. Spent domestically, that $10 billion could buy health care coverage for over 4 million children without proper coverage, or pay for 1.5 million American children to attend Head Start child development programs to prepare them for school, or simply help states offset the costs of one of the worst fiscal crises in half a century.
Economic assistance. Economic assistance.
One of the reasons that the American commitment to Israel is so strong, that it's not only reflecting the impact of well-organized pro-Israeli lobbies, but it also represents the views of the Pentagon that sees Israel now as an indispensable strategic ally in the effort to control and exert influence throughout the region.
The main concern for the United States, like the world, is the oil-producing regions. And in order to control that, you need a way of doing it.
More deaths in Israel's ground operation of Gaza has begun, but it's not yet the all-out assault many expected. So how are they doing it? Israel is trying to control what we see of their offensive, but by analyzing satellite images and the limited footage coming out of the Gaza Strip, our visual analysis reveals how Israel and Hamas are fighting this war right now, and why this conflict is unlike anything we've seen before.
The oil-producing regions.
Israel's PR war machine is in overdrive. The ground invasion will be televised by the IDF. Perhaps tempered by the US warning them against a full-blown charge into Gaza. This second stage so far appears to be an incremental advance into the northern part of the Strip. But what we know is limited, because Israel has been careful with the information it releases. Following the Hamas attack of October 7th, Israel's war cabinet vowed to destroy Hamas. On October 13th, they told civilians in Gaza to evacuate from the top of the areas crossing down to Wadi Gaza. Israeli tanks began to amass just north of the Gaza Strip in fields here, with others seen down near to Kibbutz Be'er, the scene of one of Hamas's massacres. The IDF said short ground incursions began on October 22nd, but we didn't get images until days later.
More deaths in Gaza. More deaths in Gaza.
It was last Friday night that Israel imposed a communications blackout. Internet, mobile, and landlines all cut. An indication of more permanent incursions into Gaza. The IDF has continued to release footage from inside, showing its soldiers conducting operations. Columns of tanks driving along the sand, bulldozers clearing the way. But the Israelis do not say exactly where and when these images are from. They just release them day by day. But judging by where the tanks were before the incursions, and from satellite images, we know Israeli tanks entered Gaza from these three locations. And videos from social media show us where they were this week. One shows forces raising a flag at a hotel here, 3 kilometers from the border. The video appeared as early as Saturday, but we've not been able to verify when it was filmed. Another shows a tank firing on a civilian car on Salah al-Din Road. The video appeared on Monday morning and was filmed by a Palestinian journalist. A satellite image taken on Monday at 9:34 a.m. shows smoke rising from the same location. And this image from Planet Labs, also from Monday morning, shows the tracks of Israeli tanks and armoured vehicles, locations where they appear to be bedding in, as well as reaching more built-up areas, all littered with craters. So what does this tell us about the Israeli strategy?
And what the IDF is preparing, what Israel is preparing the world for, is a long game of months and months, potentially they say even years, of kind of smoking.
That siege was seen in Israel's devastating strikes on the Jabalia refugee camp, which caused dozens of deaths and injuries according to Gaza's health ministry. The IDF said yesterday's attack killed several Hamas militants, including a senior military leader, hiding among the refugees and in tunnels underneath the camp. Hamas denies their leader was ever there. This shows the devastating consequences of this war for Palestinian civilians, as the Israelis push ahead and try to target Hamas infrastructure, in particular the network of tunnels. The Israeli mission is complicated not just because hostages are assumed to be underground, but that they have to know where the tunnels are. Footage from early this week showed Hamas emerging from one near the Erez crossing, seemingly unknown to the Israelis.
Deep tunnels, 70 meters deep, hundreds of kilometers of tunnels, were able to, create
And none of this is helped on the Israeli side by reports that the political wing is divided under the unpopular Benjamin Netanyahu, with no idea what comes after Hamas, even if Hamas can be defeated. The only thing for certain is that there will be more deaths in Gaza, with civilians bearing the brunt, both during this war and after, in the rubble left behind.
Well, one of the big problems is, and here goes the grenade, Israel. The second you mention the word Israel, the nation Israel, the concept Israel, many in the American press become very defensive. We're not allowed to be highly critical of the state of Israel. And the other thing we're not allowed to do is discuss the notion that Israel and the notion of Israeli interests may in fact be dictating what America is doing. That what we're doing in the Middle East may not be to the benefit of America's national security, but to Israel's national security. But see, we don't want to talk about that because one of the great success stories out there is the pro-Israeli lobby that has successfully enabled themselves to blend the two together so that when we speak of Israeli interests, they say, no, we're speaking of American interests. It's interesting that AIPAC and other elements of the Israeli lobby don't have to register as agents of a foreign government. It would be nice if they did, because then we'd know when they're advocating on behalf of Israel or they're advocating on behalf of the United States of America. I would challenge the New York Times to sit down and do a critical story on Israel, on the role of the role that Israel plays in influencing American foreign policy. There's nothing wrong with Israel trying to influence American foreign policy. Let me make that clear. The British seek to influence our foreign policy. The French seek to influence our foreign policy. The Saudis seek to influence our foreign policy. The difference is when they do this and they bring American citizens into play, these Americans, once they take the money of a foreign government and they advocate on behalf of that foreign government, they register themselves as an agent of that government so we know where they're coming from. That's all I ask the Israelis to do. Let us know where you're coming from, because stop confusing the American public that Israel's interests are necessarily America's interests. I have to tell you right now, Israel has a viable, valid concern about Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. If I were an Israeli, I'd be extremely concerned about Hezbollah, and I would want to do everything possible to nullify that organization. As an American, I will tell you, Hezbollah does not threaten the national security of the United States of America one iota. So we should not be talking about using American military forces to deal with the Hezbollah issue. That is an Israeli problem, and yet you'll see the New York Times, the Washington Post, and other media outlets confusing the issue. They want us to believe that Hezbollah is an American problem. It isn't, ladies and gentlemen. Hezbollah was created 3 years after Israel invaded Lebanon, not 3 years after the United States invaded Lebanon, and Hezbollah's sole purpose was to liberate southern Lebanon from Israeli occupation. I'm not here to condone or sing high praises and virtue for Hezbollah, but I'm here to tell you right now, Hezbollah is not a terrorist organization that threatens the security of the United States of America.
אוקיי, חדש מסוכת, אצלי רק פה מזכרת לילד, 740, הכל סטופ. שלוש, ממש פרפר לילד, גם לבית גם לא לבית שתיים, ונגישו 250 שקלים.
תסגור רגע את העניינים בחשמל, למה לא עובד האור? מה? אולי נבדק? לא? לא נבדק. נעשה עוד הפעם. לא עובד, אולי יש בעיה בחשמל. הכבל פה קרוע, אחי, בגלל כל הכבל קרוע, איזה בלגן.
Did you know Albert Einstein was once asked to be the president of Israel in 1952? And he refused. Here's why. In 1948, in a letter to the New York Times, Einstein, along with 28 other members of the Jewish community, stated that the Israeli political party closely resembles the Nazis and fascist parties in their ideologies and methods. In the letter, they condemned the Zionist militia's massacre in Deir Yassin, saying that they should have felt shameful. But there's much more. 10 years before the letter, Einstein once said that a Jewish state with borders and an army to protect those borders goes against the religion of Judaism. Even America at the time, Secretary of State George Marshall opposed recognizing the state of Israel. In a 1938 speech, Einstein said, "I should much rather see reasonable agreement with the Arabs on the basis of living together in peace than the creation of a Jewish state."
שהמחיר יקבל ניצור, כרגע המחיר לא קבל ניצור, אז ההתקפה רבת היקף ברשות הפלסטינית. זה תחת שהכל מתמודד.
פוחדים, צוחקים להם, יראו לנו את הפיישל וצחוק ופשוט הם לא פוחדים לצחוק.
זה מה שמביא אותם.
רגע, אבל אז רשות במעולם יגיד מה, אתם חושבים? אתה לא מפחד מהעולם יגיד.
במיוחד היום עם אמריקה, אני יודע מה זה אמריקה. אמריקה זה לא שאפשר להזיז אותו בקלות, להזיז לכיוון הנכון. לא יחייבו.
אז שאם אנחנו עושים איזה משהו, אז הם...
יש עליהם, נניח שהם אומרים. 80% מהאמריקאים תומכים בנו. זה אבסורד. לא פחדתי לתמוד שם. לא פחדתי להתאבד עם קריטון. לא פחדתי להתאבד עם אוכל. מה היו הסכמי אוסלו? הסכמי אוסלו שהכנסת חתמה עליהם. שאלו אותי, גם כבר מתקיים. אוקיי, בתנאי כתוב להדדיות, צמצום המסירות. אבל איך נצמצם את המסירות? אני אתן דרוש להסכם שיאפשר לי להפסיק את הדהירה הזאת לקווי 67. איך עשינו את זה? אף אחד לא אמר מה זה אתרים צבאיים מוגדרים. אתרים צבאיים מוגדרים, אני אמרתי אלה אזורי ביטחון. בקעת הירדן, מבחינתי זה אתר צבאי מוגדר. נכון. זה אוקיי. לך תגיד. אבל אז הייתה שאלה, מי יגדיר מה זה אתרים צבאיים מוגדרים? קיבלתי מכתב, נכנס לפה, אליי ולרפת, באותה לשם. שאומר שישראל בלבד היא זו שתגדיר מה הם את מיקום האתרים הצבאיים האלה ואת גודלם. עכשיו, הם לא רצו את המכתב הזה, אז לא נתתי את הסכם חברון. הפסקתי בישיבת הממשלה, אמרתי, אני לא רוצה. רק כשהגיע המכתב, תוך כדי הישיבה, אליי ולרפת, תמתי הסכם. תגיד לו שעדיף לתת 2% מאשר לתת 100%. וזו הברירה שם עומדת כאן כרגע. אתה נתת 2%, וזה עצרת את הנסיגה הזאת במקום 100%.
Israel may in fact be dictating what America is doing.
Military occupation is a terrifying presence. % of Palestinians living under occupation are children. Childhoods are being lost to fear and insecurity. Hundreds of children were killed in last year's war on Gaza, and thousands more lost homes and relatives. Every child in Gaza has experienced the death and loss of war and is overshadowed by the threat of further military assault. Today, as the blockade of Gaza remains, the Israeli army uses sonic booms over Gaza to maintain this fear of impending attack on these already fragile young minds.
عشان خوفنا. صداي نزلت على شقة اليمين واليسار ظلت واقفة. هذا ابن عمي مات فيها.
Israel's demolished more than 24,000 Palestinian homes in the occupied territory since 1967. I've seen, terrible things. Kids go off to school, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids, they put the little backpack on, they go off to school in the morning. 10 o'clock, they come to demolish the house. The kid comes back at 12:01, comes over the hill, there's no house. This is really what horror movies are. This is the stuff of horror movies. It's when all of a sudden everything familiar is gone.
The children of Gaza and the West Bank are showing worrying symptoms of psychological trauma. Withdrawn behaviour, bedwetting and aggression amongst children is commonplace.
فإسكان استمرت الصدمات هذه بداخل الأطفال ولم يستطيع تفريغها بشكل سلمي، حيستمر هذا في داخلهم، حيتحول لكآبات ولمشاكل سلوكية كبيرة جدا في المستقبل، ستعيق كل حياتهم من كل الجوانب.
MAP has developed special play therapy and counselling programs which help children and their families cope, helping to stop the cycle of psychological damage caused by war. With your help, we can expand these projects and give more children their childhoods back.
I'm heading home, heading back to New York.
Right now, I'm very happy to be in Cyprus and get home safe to my family. In Israel, it's very scary. We didn't sleep for nights on end.
And there you have it. Israeli Americans running away from the promised land like chickens. Or should I say, sailing away in luxury ships because they can't take a beating from Iran. And these are the lucky ones, because the vast majority of them have been held captive by their own government. And now they are going back home to wherever they came from, looking for sympathy. While the real victims in Gaza are massacred and starved to death. In fact, they're leaving behind the real traumatized indigenous people of the Middle East. The Palestinians, the Yemenis, the Syrians, the Lebanese, and now we're on to Iran. They have no dual nationality to escape to. The question that I have, since Cyprus is a stopover, how many of them will be staying on to claim Cyprus as a new promised land? The new promised land. Promised land. new 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 promised land.
After 2 decades of occupation and little hope of change, the Palestinians started an intifada, or uprising, against Israel. For Palestinians, the intifada was a struggle to regain their land and rights. For many Israelis, it was yet another assault on the state of Israel. The army was ordered to end it.
You know, a good guy from Tel Aviv found himself in Gaza. Thousands and thousands of people, which looks like me and talks basically like me, children, elders, men, women, but they're totally unlike me. You know, no civil right whatsoever. People that you can do to whatever you want, go to whatever house and just take it just because we're the military. You can stop whoever you want. For me, I was shocked.
I knew that something is wrong here. You know, everyone knows that something is wrong while walking in refugee camp or forcing a curfew and these collective punishments and checkpoints, and you feel that something is wrong.
למשל, פעולה שבאה בתור מפקד מחלקה צעיר, יחד עם חיילים שהיו 5-6 חודשים בצבא, הגענו לבית בתוך כפר פלסטיני, ועצרנו שם ילד בן 14, שהיה אמור להיות לו איזשהו סוג של מידע, ויחד עם 2 חוקרי שב"כ עינינו אותו במשך לילה שלם עד שהוא מת, פשוט מת מול העיניים שלנו, תוך כדי עינוי נוראי שאני קצת קשה לי להרחיב עליו.
We asked questions our commander. They told us it's important that regarding the security of the state of Israel, and then a year and a half later I told my soldiers that the purpose of our patrols is guarding the security of Israel. I passed this inheritance forward.
It was a very painful process, and it is very painful right now because you actually understand that somebody was lying to you. He called it Zionism, but let you do something completely different.
A vicious cycle of violence and revenge began, with suicide bombers exploding in the heart of Israeli cities, and the Israeli army executing a policy that included arbitrary arrest, home demolition, and targeted assassination.
In Poland, there was a city named Warsaw. In Warsaw, the Nazis created a ghetto inside Warsaw, where they put all the Jews inside this ghetto. Which sometimes when I flew, and I'm not flying anymore, but I flew around places in the West Bank, especially in the Gaza Strip, it reminded me the situation of the Jews sometimes some years ago. Those guys in the ghetto of Warsaw were in very, very bad situation, and they lost everything. They died there like in thousands. They died on the streets, and they only wanted to kill the Germans and to fight for the honor, some of them. The German army, the German troops saw those warriors inside the ghetto, the Jews that fought against them, and they called them terrorists. They called them terrorists. For them, for the Germans, they were not human beings. They were terrorist animals with no heart, with nothing, because they were willing to blow themselves inside German troops. The analogy is really clear here.
It become abnormal to think that to demolish a house is something that, activity. You have to, they told us, we'll do it. We'll go tomorrow to pick our children from the kindergarten, we'll take them back home, we'll make them lunch. Like we are getting back to our normal life, while a day before we were demolishing a house of a family of 20 people, that are living in this house for many, many years. And suddenly I understood deeply the idea of what is to demolish a house for a family. And I understood that it's a crazy thing to do.
They lied about Vietnam. They lied about Cambodia. They lied about Laos and everyone they left behind there. They lied about Cuba. They lied about El Salvador and Nicaragua, Guatemala and Panama. They're lying right now about Honduras, just as they did back in the 1980s and over again, going back 100 years or more. Just ask General Smedley Butler. They lied about the Spanish-American War. They lied about the Mexican War. They lied about Pearl Harbor. They lied about Chile. They're lying about Venezuela. They lied about Kuwait. They lied about Iraq. They lied about 9/11. They lied about Afghanistan. They lied about Iraq. The entire war on terror is nothing but a hideous lie, unless you're the one that they're terrorizing. They lied about bin Laden. This man's lying about everything except about bombing Pakistan. That's one campaign promise he kept. He's lying about Pakistan, of course, but why is he lying so much? I wonder if it has anything to do with these guys. They lied about Libya. Are we looking at prima facie war criminals? It's a dead cert. They're lying about Yemen and Somalia and Sudan. They're lying about Syria. They're lying about Palestine.
They're enemies of America.
And they're lying about Iran. Iran is not our enemy.
They're enemies of America.
Iran is not our enemy. Iran is not our enemy.
They're enemies of America.
War is not now, and it never has been, the answer to any of these alleged problems. Truth is. And the truth is, Iran is not our enemy.
They're enemies of America.
Iran is not our enemy. Iran is not our enemy.
They're enemies of America, of America, of America.
The Second Amendment absolutely guarantees guarantees the right of every citizen of sound mind to have a firearm. It does. There is no ifs, there are no buts, there's no questions about it. And I want you to look at this in a greater context of things. We have had a Zionist-controlled Hollywood, a Zionist-controlled news media that is the conduit to all of this violence, this imagery into every home in America. And so you wonder why there's a culture of violence? It is because it comes from the Jews in Hollywood. That's where the conduit of violence comes from. That's the source of it. But look behind that even deeper. I want to remind you of the Norway shooting of Mr. Breivik, which followed a week after Norway had agreed to support Palestine. Now you look at Israel just lost their bid to thwart Palestine from being recognized by the United Nations. And now here we go. Here's a revenge killing in the U.S. sponsored by Israel that killed all these innocent children. And that is something that Israelis do very, very well. They target the innocent, they target children, they target women, and they avoid the issue because they're angry, they didn't get their way, and now Palestine has standing in the UN, and Israel is going to be subject to the International Criminal Courts, and their leadership is going to be taken to task. So let's connect the dots here about what's going on globally, geopolitically, with Israel involved. Now, they're also calling for a congressional hearing. Now, one thing you can count on with a congressional hearing is there's going to be a cover-up, because all of our congressmen are bought and paid for by the Israel lobby in the U.S. So any truth of this that's going to be is going to be hidden because Israel wants it hidden because they are once again the guilty party. You have to realize Israel has been operating death squads in the United States now since Gabby Giffords and Judge Roll was shot in Tucson. There's been other incidences, the Aurora, Colorado shooting. That was, again, Israeli death squads operating in the U.S. I don't know. I am so disgusted with Israel and their behavior on the international stage. Hollywood is Jewish-owned and Jewish-controlled, and they spew filth and they spew violence out. And let's look at our gun control who want to take the guns away. Feinstein, Schumer, Boxer, those are all the ones. Those are all Jewish senators, all Jewish people who want to take guns away from normal, law-abiding, middle-class Americans who have a right under this Constitution to do it. They've been trying to destroy this country and trying to destroy this Constitution for the last 70 years since the Frankfurt School came over here from Germany. And I, for one, it's time to push back. We're not going to sit back and take this Zionist-occupied government that we have in this country anymore. It's
okay,
time
Mr.
for us to have
Jackson,
meaningful
let's
change
just stick
and
to
bring
the
this back
issue
to a
of
true constitutional
Right, let me
republic.
bring in Mr. Jackson.
I am very much anti.
Germany won the First World War by 1916 without a single shot being fired on German soil. British convoys were blown out of the Atlantic by German subs, the French army mutinied, and the Russian army was defecting. With British Prime Minister Lloyd George up against a wall, Lionel Rothschild and the Jewish Zionists offered the British a deal they couldn't refuse. "We'll bring the United States into the war as your ally and win the war for you," they said, "if you'll promise us Palestine." In April of 1917, President Wilson got the green light and declared war on Germany. Because of overwhelming opposition to the war, Wilson invoked the draft and passed the Espionage Act, forcing Americans to fight or be thrown in jail. Billions of U.S. taxpayers' money was delivered to the British war machine, money that was never repaid. In return, the British government wrote the famous Balfour Declaration and addressed it to none other than Lord Lionel Rothschild. The declaration promised Palestine and Israel to the Rothschild Zionists.
June 17, Lord Allenby conquered the Holy Land, and the Jews were promised a national home in Palestine by the Earl of Balfour, a policy endorsed by Woodrow Wilson and by the League of Nations, which made Palestine a British mandate.
With the fall of Nazi Germany, the Rothschilds wasted no time waving their Balfour Declaration at the British government and reminding them of their written promise to give them Palestine. But how could the British promise the Arab land of Palestine to the Jews? In 1917, the British parachuted free opium and hashish to the Turkish troops and stole Palestine from them.
One ingenious strategy was to parachute hashish and opium to the Turkish troops, try to keep their mind off the fighting. this strategy worked brilliantly.
During World War II, the British needed Arab oil and signed an agreement with the Arabs which forbid Jewish immigration into Palestine. Then at the end of the war, the British broke their agreement with the Arabs and allowed the Rothschild Jewish Zionists to smuggle hundreds of thousands of Jews from around the world into Palestine. To win public support, the Rothschilds, who owned Reuters and the Associated Press, bombarded their media empire with images of homeless Jewish Holocaust refugees crowded together in ships off the coast of Palestine. On October 24th, 1945, the bankster pirates gave birth to their most powerful weapon of global control, the United Nations. According to plan, the British pulled out of Palestine and gave the land to the Jewish Zionists. These Zionist extremists call themselves God's chosen race of people and believe they have a God-given right to the land of the Palestinians. It is important to know that the land now called Israel was originally called Canaan in ancient times. Canaan was populated by the Canaanite people, who were the ancestors of today's Palestinians imprisoned in refugee camps in Israel. About 3,500 years ago, the Semitic Hyksos kings ruled Egypt for 100 years, but were expelled from Egypt into Canaan. The Egyptians called these Hyksos people the Habarus, which means Hebrews. These expelled Hebrews invaded and conquered the land of Canaan and changed the name of the land from Canaan to Israel. In 135 AD, the name was once again changed to Palestine after the Romans conquered the land. In 1948, the bankster-controlled United Nations officially turned Palestine into the Zionist state of Israel. To deal with the millions of Palestinian residents, the Israeli Jews massacred and drove them from their villages and homeland. The Jews herded the Palestinians into two separated regions called the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The Rothschilds soon began financing Jewish Holocaust refugees to build illegal Jewish settlements on Palestinian land. These illegal Jewish settlements set the stage for Israel's Prime Minister Ariel Sharon's reign of terror against Palestinians who dared to defend what was left of their stolen homeland. Like Saddam Hussein, Sharon violated dozens of UN resolutions by using hundreds of tanks and American-supplied gunships and planes in an unrelenting campaign of bombing, murdering, bulldozing, starving, and terrorizing the Palestinians off of what remained of their land. In violation of international law, Israel also secretly developed over 100 nuclear weapons of mass destruction capable of vaporizing the entire Middle East. Defenseless against Israel's U.S.-backed military and media campaign, the Palestinian Muslims fought back with sticks and stones and suicide as their only means of defense against the wholesale theft of their ancient homeland. The story of the Bible was written by Hebrew Jews who tell us that the Hebrew Jews are God's chosen race of people. Bible prophecy predicts that they will one day rule the world from their temple throne in Jerusalem, and that the world's King of Kings will be a descendant of King David and King Solomon of Israel. That is what Bible believers all over the world believe will come to pass. To turn this Bible prophecy into a reality would demand the cooperation of world leaders. It would also mean building a third temple in Jerusalem over the ancient ruins of King Solomon's temple. But there is one giant-sized problem. A sacred Muslim shrine called Dome of the Rock was already built on top of the ruins of Solomon's temple in the 7th century. It still stands majestically today in the heart of Jerusalem, and it would have to be destroyed. Since Israel is surrounded by not-so-friendly Muslim nations, and with millions of Muslim Palestinians living in Israel's West Bank and Gaza Strip, this Bible prophecy is impossible to fulfill. Or is it? Like a screenplay for a movie, the Bible story was written by Hebrew Jews. But who is the director and the producer? Is it God? Or is it a special interest group of the world's wealthiest men? The Rothschilds, whose friend companies had helped finance Hitler and the Jewish slave labor camps, had turned Jewish Holocaust victims into victimizers. Imprisoned inside barbed wire refugee camps, the Palestinians began to resemble the victims of Nazi concentration camps. According to author Simon Schama, the Rothschilds own 80% of the land of Israel. Even the flag of Israel flies the hexagram symbol from the Rothschild family's red shield. The hexagram has 6 points, 6 triangles, and 6 sides on the central hexagram. The numbers 666 are associated with the biblical prophecies that predict an apocalyptic Third World War. The Rothschilds bought Reuters in the 1800s. Reuters then bought the Associated Press, which selects and delivers the same news stories to the entire world, day after day. They have controlling interest in 3 major television networks and easily avoid media attention since they own it. Until recently, they owned and operated England's Royal Mint and continue to be the gold agent for the Bank of England, which they also direct. They control the LBMA, London Bullion Market Association, where 30 to 42 million ounces of gold worth over $11 billion are traded daily. The Rothschilds earn millions weekly just on transaction fees alone. They also fix the world price of gold on a daily basis and profit from its ups and downs. Over the centuries, the Rothschilds have amassed trillions of dollars worth of gold bullion in their subterranean vaults and have cornered the world's gold supply. They own controlling interest in the world's largest oil company, Royal Dutch Shell. They operate phony charities and offshore banking services where the wealth of the black nobility and the Vatican is hidden in secret accounts at Rothschild Swiss banks, trusts, and holding companies. Although Evelyn Rothschild looks like a harmless gray-haired old man, make no mistake about it, Rothschild and his ancestors have handpicked presidents, crashed stock markets, bankrupted nations, orchestrated wars, and sponsored the mass murder and impoverishment of millions. The wealth hoarded by this one family alone could feed, clothe, and shelter every human being on earth.
איתה, מה זה אח שלי? מה הבאת לנו מעזה? מה זה? שטיח. שטיח. כל הזמן נדרוך עליו. ונראה כעליו. איפה החול של עזה? באפר טבעי. בסדר.
We were looking for babies, but there is no babies left.
What babies? Say that again. Say it again.
No, maybe I kill a girl, she was 12, but I'm looking for a baby.
The U.S. Department of Justice looking into groups that brought $36 million into the U.S. to plant stories in the U.S. media and promote Israeli foreign policy objectives in the United States.
يا جماعة الخير ديروا بالكم المعلبات برفاح مشركات شوفوا طلعوا هذه إسرائيلية يعني بتفتح العلبة وآخر علبة بتفتحها بحياتك ديروا بالكم شوفوا ديروا بالكم هي ذرة مشركات العلب
ההכרה של הנשיא טראמפ בנקודתנו ברמת הגולן, לקח לנו יובל שנים להשיג את זה. חזרנו לגולן, הגולן שלנו בזכות היסטורית, הגולן שלנו בזכות של הגנה עצמית. והנשיא טראמפ הכיר בזה.
נתניהו, ימין חזק.
מתה יצחק כהנא, אוהבים אותך המון, יאיר גולני. אוהבים אותך נטע, היידה נטע!
פירקו את כל האולמות אירועים, אז לפעמים צריכים לאלתר במה. שימו לב איפה יושבים הקהל. איפה אתם עזה?
רותם תנ"ך, שרשרת חדשה, Made in Gaza. Made in Gaza.
Made in Gaza.
Made in Gaza.
עם אפילו ברבול.
וואו, מה זה?
ברבור.
לקשרי. זה תלת הקרת.
זה האינפיניטי.
האינפיניטי. אינבדידי.
בוא נתעם רגע. אתה רוצה עוד איך בודקים?
אני עוזר לכם את חניון ברגשות מעורבים. מצד אחד שמחה גדולה, כבר לא בתקופה של פוגרומים ששפטו, אנסו והתעללו בנו ללא תגובה. ברוך השם הקרבנו להם שטח עצום, הרגנו בהם עשרות אלפים של עמלקים. מצד שני עוד לא הגענו להיות צבא מוסרי, וזאת המלחמה האמיתית של עם ישראל. כל השאר יסתדר אחר כך בקלות. מוסרי זה להבין שכל ערבי הוא חפץ חשוד. אולי הוא טוב, אולי הוא פצצה, אבל הוא חשוד. מוסרי זה להוציא להרוג את כל המחבלים אחרי שחוקרים אותם. מוסרי זה לכבוש וליישב את כל חלקי ארץ ישראל, וכל מקום שנשאיר בו כן צרעות, יתנתן בנו במוקדם ובמאוחר. ההבנה הזו היא מצילת חיים, חייבים להבין את זה בשכל לפני שהאויב יסביר לנו את זה במידה חס וחלילה. בהצלחה לכולנו ולכל עם ישראל במערכה הגדולה והחשובה הזאת.
احكي لنا اللي صار اليوم. باختصار.
وفجأة حكوا لنا إني قصفوا الكنيسة.
Just on the other side of the border, some Israelis are already plotting to move into the land that's being evacuated. The war in Gaza has now become a twisted kind of tourist attraction for these families of Israel's right-wing settlers. They pose for pictures. Family smiles with Gaza smouldering in the background.
If you could give a message to people in Gaza now, what would you say to them?
To the Arabs, she says, go away. The people holding this map are from the Nahala settler movement, a minority group, but vocal, and with friends in Netanyahu's coalition government. This man's wearing a t-shirt that says Gaza delende est, Gaza must be destroyed. This lady tells us she has a son currently serving there in the IDF.
From here we can see the bombs coming down on the people of Gaza. What do you want for them?
Yes, but they brought it for themselves. I think they're all Hamas.
Your plan is to settle Gaza and take the land for Israel. What would happen to the people of Gaza?
They can live in Egypt. They have a lot of places.
Children are given bubbles to watch the bombings, and they get books teaching Israel's right to take more land, even from Lebanon. But first, they want Gaza.
Do you want to expel the Palestinian people from Gaza?
All the world love them. They can bring ships and take them to their countries.
You don't want them. You want to settle Gaza, but you don't want Palestinians there.
This is on the occasion of Donald Trump's presidency. God bless America. God bless Israel. Woo!
Why is an elite Israeli military academy teaching future soldiers that Gentiles want to be ruled by Jewish slave masters?
The U.S. is supporting the biggest terrorist in our region, and that is Israel.
Now, Mr. Israel Shahak, a Holocaust survivor who passed away in 2001, wrote a book in 1994 titled Jewish History, Jewish Religion. The book is about Judaism and Zionism. Mr. Shahak, a former professor at Hebrew University in Jerusalem, focused primarily on Jewish racism toward non-Jews. Jews use derogatory terms for non-Jews. In private conversations, they call us goy or goyim. Goy and goyim are racist words commonly spoken by Jews. It is equivalent to a white person using the N-word to identify a black person. In the book Jewish History, Jewish Religion, Professor Shahak delved deeply into how Jewish racial superiority is woven in and through Zionism. He believed that it explains the way Israel interacts with non-Jewish people. The Hebrew University professor cited the Talmud as evidence of Jewish hatred of Christians and non-Jews. He quoted the Talmud saying that Jesus Christ is in hell, boiling in excrement. He said Jewish tradition teaches devout Jews to burn copies of the New Testament Bible and to curse the mothers of dead Christians when they walk past Christian cemeteries. Professor Shahak said that Talmudic Jewish rabbis teach Jews that God's instruction in Leviticus to love thy neighbor only applies to Jewish neighbors. He also said Jews believe Jewish lives are more valuable than the lives of non-Jews. Now, he quoted Maimonides, Ben Shapiro's hero, as teaching that the death penalty does not apply to Jews who murder non-Jews. Rabbi Yoel Sirkis taught that causing the death of a non-Jew is not a sin. Professor Shahak also wrote in his book that rabbis teach Jews that they are not obligated to save the life of a non-Jew who is in danger of dying. Maimonides taught Jews, quote, as for Gentiles with whom we are not at war, their death must not be caused, but it is forbidden to save them if they are at the point of death. If, for example, one of them is seen falling into the sea, he should not be rescued, end of quote. That's Ben Shapiro's hero. I want to remind you that Maimonides, as I just said, is the 12th century rabbi who Ben Shapiro often quotes as the source of his religious beliefs. Professor Shahak described Maimonides as a Gentile hater and a racist. I wonder if Ben Shapiro agrees with Maimonides that the Turks have a nature of brute animals and are not on the level of human beings. The Hebrew University chemistry professor asserted that Jewish racial superiority was the driving force in Israel's brutal treatment of Palestinians. He noted that 92% of Israel's land is restricted to Jews only. He cited the deliberate destruction of hundreds of Palestinian cemeteries so that Jewish buildings could be constructed, including the Hilton Hotel in Tel Aviv. Shockingly, he quoted an Israeli army booklet published by the IDF Central Regional Command that gave Israeli soldiers permission to kill innocent civilians. The IDF booklet says, quote, in war, when our forces storm the enemy, they are allowed to even enjoin by the halakha to kill even good civilians, that is, civilians who are ostensibly good. Professor Shahak was a Jew who vehemently opposed Zionism, which proves that not all Jews are Zionists. And that has been my point in all of our discussions here at True News about Zionism. Zionism is a radical, dangerous, racist political movement built around racial superiority of Jews. Many Jews reject Zionism's extremist views. Now, can a news program intelligently and calmly discuss Zionist racism without being called anti-Semitic? Well, you already know the answer. A vicious firestorm of lies and slander will be unleashed against me immediately. We will be vilified online by Zionists and their shills.
This is Yosef Shapira, who is Israel's comptroller. I don't know if you have a comptroller here in the Netherlands. It's someone who's, it's an apolitical position, an official whose job it is just to ensure that the government is accountable and does what it says it's going to do, and et cetera. So he issued a report 2 years ago, and it was a report on Israel's education system. How are Israeli youth being educated? And what he found there, he wrote, I will not gloss over the state of affairs. It shows a grim picture. The state of Israel is doing very little to purge the severe phenomena of racism and hatred among youth. Worse than this, he says, over the years, the Ministry of Education has avoided taking the necessary steps for the prevention of racism. So not only is it not doing anything, it's purposefully not doing anything. Why would it not doing anything? Why would it? Well, in the last decade, Netanyahu has been prime minister the entire time, but Israel has cycled through a series of education ministers, but all of those education ministers have been Orthodox Jews. And that hasn't been accidental. It's been purposeful, very much so. And now we're going to go into a section of the talk that is the most sensitive part, as I alluded to earlier. So what does it mean for Israeli Jews to study in a system, in an education system in which Orthodox Jewry, state-sponsored Orthodox Jewry, is infused into the curriculum? So you get to school, day one, and school gives out these agenda books. Do you have them here in the Netherlands as well, where, you know, you can write your schedule for the week, for the month, and what homework assignments you have? So kids get to school, they get this agenda book, and included in the agenda book is this cartoon. Again, I don't expect you to read Hebrew, I'll break it down in English. So this is the cartoon. Brother and a sister talking. Hey, Uzi, let's play war. All right, I'll bring my soldier costume from Purim. Purim is a Jewish holiday. It's like a Bacchanalian festival, and it's like a Hebrew Halloween, kind of kids love to dress up. So he gets his soldier costume. 15 minutes later, at the end of the war. Hey, Jewish soldier. Okay, so you defeated us and took me captive. But if you marry me, if you free me, I'll marry you. You ought to. I'm really pretty. What is this? This is some weird. I mean, marry a Gentile? A daughter of the enemy? Never. No chance. No way. Wait. Actually, I once learned that there is a law called Pretty Woman. What is he talking about here? This is an actual thing. Okay, all, you know, medieval religions have their weird wonky rules, but this is an actual thing, and it's not just past tense, it's very much present tense, because this rabbi, Eyal Krim, when he was asked, it's common for, you know, Orthodox Jews to like pose questions to leading rabbis saying, you know, what should I do under this circumstance? What's the law that I should follow? And so when he was asked, straight up, quote, is it allowed for an IDF soldier to rape girls? I mean, that's what it would seem from this law in the Talmud, this pretty woman law. Is this in fact true? He responds, the Torah permitted the individual to satisfy the evil urge. So yes, Jewish soldiers may rape non-Jewish women during wartime. Now, after he made this statement, he was made chief rabbi of the Israeli army of Jewish soldiers. Worrying isn't even the word. And again, it's not just one, it's not just some, you know, one rabbi in the middle of nowhere that no one knows about. No. Shmuel Eliyahu has been the chief rabbi of the holy city of Tzfat for 30 years. He makes a big fat paycheck from my tax money. And what does he do with it when, you know, people come to him for his sagely wisdom? And he's asked, oh, I should also point out, you know how it goes. He's the chief rabbi, the son of a chief rabbi as well. And so when Shmuel Eliyahu is asked, if the regime in Israel was a Jewish theocracy, would a pretty woman be permitted nowadays as well? You know, if we succeed in creating this Torah state where there's no separation between state and synagogue, then would we also still be allowed to rape non-Jewish women in wartime? Where is the respect for women? So women are war booty? That kind of life is worse than dying at war. The person who wrote this is obviously perturbed by what he's read in the texts, and he wants to clarify it. Can this be? I mean, allowing a Jewish soldier to rape a woman, it's unconscionable in our day and time. And so Shmuel Eliyahu didn't see it that way. He responded saying, now he has got to fight the Jewish soldier, and you shouldn't be preaching morality to him. Don't weaken his spirit. Far from his wife, cravings burn in him. During war, he's liable to think about women and then not fight as well. If you forbid him from a beautiful woman, it's likely to get to the point where the Jewish people will be defeated. If he can't rape willy-nilly, he's not going to fight as well. In that case, the Torah said, if it burns in you, take a pretty woman. Wow. This is an indictment, if anything. And again, he continues, he goes to say, well, I mean, that's all good and theoretical, that is the law, but really, who's putting it into practice? Today, Jewish men have no desire for Arab women.
בגלל ביטול העבדות החוקית, אז נוצרו מגרעות עכשיו, כי אין אחריות על הנכס הזה. בעזרת השם זה יחזור. הם ירצו הגויים להיות עבדים שלנו.
זהו הרב אליעזר קשתיאל, ראש ישיבת בני דוד בעלי.
הכי טוב להיות עבד של יהודים. הם שמחים להיות עבדים, רוצים להיות עבדים.
הישיבה הזו מיועדת לבוגרי המכינה הקדם צבאית, המוכרת והיוקרתית בציונות הדתית. רבים מהם מגיעים אליה לאחר שהם מסיימים שירות צבאי.
במקום שהוא יהיה סתם מסתובב ברחובות ועושה שטויות ואלימות ומזיק אחד לשני. עכשיו הוא עבד, החיים שלו מתחילים להתנהל.
לפי הרב קשתיאל, האדונים הם היהודים, העבדים הם הערבים. החלוקה לא מקרית, זה עניין ביולוגי, בעיות גנטיות.
יש מסביבנו עמים כאלה, בעיות גנטיות. תשאל ערבי פשוט, איפה אתה רוצה להיות? הוא רוצה להיות תחת הכיבוש. למה? כי הם לא, יש להם בעיה גנטית, הם לא יודעים לנהל מדינה, הם לא יודעים לעשות כלום. תראה איך הם נראים.
והנה התורה כולה, תורת הגזע.
בוודאי שיש גזענות, מה אנחנו לא יודעים שיש גזעים שונים בעולם, מה זה סוד זה, מה זה לא נכון, זה נכון, מה לעשות.
בעוד יומיים עם ישראל יציין את יום השואה, בין היתר את החלוקה של הנאצים לגזעים, עליונים ונחותים, והנה בגרסה העברית.
כן, אנחנו גזענים, אנחנו מאמינים בגזענות. יש גזעים בעולם ויש תכונות גנטיות של עמים, וזה דורש מאיתנו לחשוב איך לעזור להם. יש הבדלים בין גזעים, וזה בדיוק סיבה להשית עזרה.
מי שמחה להחליט מי זה מי?
אני רואה שאני מגיע להישגים הרבה יותר מרשימים ממנו.
כיצד הם רואים את השואה?
השואה באמת זה לא שהרגו את היהודים, זאת לא השואה. כל התירוצים האלה כמו זה אידיאולוגי או זה שיטתי או כל זה, לא שטויות. זה כיוון שזה נבע מתוך אידיאולוגיה, במידה מסוימת זה יותר מוסרי מאשר סתם שאנשים רוצחים. הומניזם, כל התרבות החילונית, זה אנחנו מאמינים באדם, זה השואה. השואה באמת זה להיות פלורליסט, כן? זה להאמין באני מאמין באדם. זה נקרא שואה.
זהו הרב גיורא רדלר, וזו ההגדרה שלו לשואה.
שהקדוש ברוך הוא כבר הרבה שנים צועק שנגמרה הגולה, אבל אנשים לא מקשיבים לו, וזאת המחלה שלהם שאותה צריך לרפא על ידי השואה.
שימו לב לשיעור המדהים הזה, תחת הכותרת היחס לשואה. כך הוא מחנך את תלמידיו על הנאצים ועל היטלר.
ההיגיון של הגרמנים הוא נכון יחסית לעצמם. זאת אומרת שקבוצה מסוימת באוכלוסייה היא זרע הפורענות לכל האנושות, בגללה כל האנושות תלך לאבדון, הם מרעים לאנושות, ולכן צריך להשמיד אותם. האידיאולוגיה הזאת נשמעת לך לא הגיונית? רעה מאוד. זה לא נשמע מוסרי. משה רבינו, אכזרי רשע כמו היטלר? לא. למה לא? יש דבר אחד רע בעולם וזה להיות צבוע. משנה לך אם הורגים אותך עכשיו מסכין או כמו שהרגו את הגג או שהורגים אותך בתא גזים, סליחה.
התלמידים נדהמים, מנסים לסתור את הרע והוא ממשיך בשלו.
בוא נתחיל מהשאלה אם היטלר צודק או לא. 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 הוא האדם הכי צודק שיש. ודאי שהוא צודק כל מילה שהוא אומר. באידיאולוגיה שלו הוא צודק. יש עולם גברי שנלחם, שעניינו כבוד, שעניינו החוות לוחמים. ויש את העולם הנשי, הרכרוכי, המוסרי, לתת את הלחי השנייה. ואנחנו חושבים שהיהודים הם אלה שנושאים את המורשת הזאת, מנסים במילים שלנו לקלקל את כל האנושות, ולכן הם האויב האמיתי. עכשיו, הוא צודק ב100%, חוץ משהו בצד הלא נכון.
So what are you doing here today? What are you hoping to convey?
With the help of the Almighty to just reveal to the world the truth that Netanyahu is a con job. They're coming to intimidate the world and to tell the world that supporting of Israel is supporting Judaism, supporting the Jewish people. They represent the Jewish people. They in truth have hijacked the name of Judaism and our symbols. Zionism is a transformation from the Jewish religion into nationalism. It is totally contradictory to Judaism. Judaism is spirituality. Not to kill, not to steal. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. We are forbidden to steal the land from the Palestinian people. We have been living for hundreds of years in every Arab and Muslim country under the protection of the graciousness of the Arab and Muslim lands without a UN or human rights groups to protect us. What has changed? Since the inception of this political movement called Zionism, around 100 years ago they started, the state is a little over 60 years, that is when the turmoil, the mistrust, and the endless river of bloodshed has happened. We want the world to know they are not Judaism, they don't represent God, not the Jewish people. Jewish people true to the Torah, to Judaism around the world, stand in vehement opposition to the state of Israel, to their oppression and stealing the land from the Palestinian people and in Gaza. We embrace the people of Gaza and Palestine. We cry with them. We feel their suffering around the world, across the board. Every very religious Jewish community is totally in opposition to the state of Israel and cries with the people of Palestine, and now with what happened in Turkey. We pray for the speedy and peaceful dismantlement entirely of the state of Israel. This is the impediment to peace. It is forbidden according to the Jewish religion for Jews to have their own state till we wait for the day when God will make a miraculous change where all humanity will recognize God and we will all go up and serve God in harmony. It will be spiritual. It won't be a state of Israel, never. What they're doing now is using to push their nationalism, to legitimize this illegitimate, evil and selfish nationalistic state of Israel. They're using the religion. The world should know this is the greatest Nakba. This is the greatest tragedy. Jews in Palestine from day one till today. Where's the sign where they're being destroyed? We'll show you that Jews are being murdered today and demonstrating against Zionism, against what they're doing to the Palestinians, what they're doing to the Jewish people, and they're being murdered. Why is this? Because the world thinks it's Judaism. It's not Judaism. We're forbidden to have a state. We're forbidden to oppress the people of Palestine. We just returned from a delegation from Gaza. We brought medical aid. We went to Ankara. We visited the people from the flotilla who are sick, who are injured by the state of Israel. And we want the world to know this is the view shared, united by every Jew who's true to Judaism. Let us all pray for the speedy and peaceful total dismantlement of the state of Israel, the return to the people of Palestine, the indigenous people, the Muslim people, their land, the right of rule over the whole entire land, so we can once again live in harmony. Jews, Muslims, and Christians. The world wants Jews, Muslims, and Christians to live together. They didn't say that Zionism has to be part of this equation. It is bringing bloodshed. It's the only thing that's bringing bloodshed. Take it out of the equation. It's the new neighbor to the block, less than 100 years. What do you need that for? It's the cause of all bloodshed. Would God bring a speedy and peaceful dismantlement of the state? And then we can live together in harmony. We can show our gratefulness to the people of Palestine and all Arabs.
Zionism, no!
These are momentous days, but they're also touched by tragedy. We lost 5 of our brave soldiers in Gaza. The people of America, of Texas, have profoundly lost their colleagues. We stand with the people of Texas and the people of America as the people of America stand with us. We send our condolences to the bereaved families. I said these are momentous times, and they are. The President and I believe in a doctrine called peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes the peace. Our resolute action, the resolute decision of President Trump to act with us against those who seek to destroy Israel and threaten the peace of the world has made a remarkable change in the Middle East. The remarkable American B-2 pilots showed remarkable perseverance, persistence, and power. The soldiers of Israel fought like lions, our pilots struck like lightning, and our common alliance roared like thunder. And this is having a great change in our region. There are opportunities for peace that we intend to realize. We're working together on this. We have still to finish the job in Gaza, release all our hostages, eliminate and destroy Hamas's military and governance capabilities, because Gaza must have a different future for our sake, for everyone's sake. And no country will settle for less. We certainly will not. These are all things that I discussed with President Trump. I may discuss further with him later in this visit. But I have to say that the coordination between our two countries, the coordination between an American president and an Israeli prime minister has been unmatched. It offers great promise for Israel, for America, for our region, and for the world.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor to have Bibi and Sarah with us, friends of mine for a long time, and we had a tremendous success together. And I think it will only go on to be even greater success in the future. So it's really nice to have you at the White House. It's nothing like the White House, and it's great to have you both and all of your wonderful people. Ron, we've worked together for a long time. We've done well together. We had a great time. We changed a lot of work, but we had a great result recently. And we're going to have a lot of great results. So it's great to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to express the appreciation and admiration, not only of all Israelis, but of the Jewish people, and many, many admirers around the world for your leadership of the free world. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much. Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
It's called peace through strength.
Well, first comes the strength, then comes the peace. And we showed a lot of strength.
What can I tell you? A global confrontation. Nobel Peace Prize. A real one, not a fake one. And a great one. Our soldiers fought like lions. America is back. America is back. America is back. President Trump and me. A really good deal.
What can I tell you? A global confrontation.
What can I tell you? A global confrontation.